A man is acknowledged shooting another man to death during a botched robbery in southern Montana. The Billings Gazette reports 38-year-old Ross Brashears struck a deal with prosecutors and pled guilty to deliberate homicide in the October 2015 death of 25-year-old Clinton Oldbull. The plea deal was dated December 28th. Brashears is set to be sentenced in March. Prosecutors say he and 30-year-old Garrett Crandall went to Oldbull's Billings home planning to rob a woman over a drug deal. Oldbull met them at the door and was shot by Brashears during a scuffle. Crandall pleaded guilty to robbery and was sentenced in December to 20 years in the Montana State Hospital, where he's being treated for schizophrenia. An executive order from Governor Steve Bullock this week has instituted a new net neutrality rule for Montana, but it only applies to companies that receive state contracts. The Department of Administration, rather than the Public Service Commission, will be responsible for ensuring that companies follow the new rule. Congressman Greg Gianforte, appearing on KGVO yesterday, says he's glad the FCC did away with its net neutrality requirements and accuses the governor of wanting more regulation.
These net neutrality rules were put in 2015. They are heavy-handed restrictions. And what they've actually done is they've reduced investment in rural infrastructure for broadband. So it's a step in the wrong direction. The ruling by the FCC just takes us back to the rules that encouraged rural internet infrastructure investment and actually gave us the internet.
Republican legislator Daniel Zolnikoff has had numerous bills before the legislature dealing with the internet, and particularly internet freedom. He says he's taking a wait-and-see approach to the executive order.
But this is a very clever loophole around that. Throttling can either work out really positive or really negative, and I don't know what's going to happen. Blocking content is always bad. I'm going to watch nationally, of course, in the next year, and when we walk back into session, we'll see how implementing Bullock's net neutrality concept, if this helps people or hurts them.
Off-the-record interviews Tuesday with many state agencies indicate a lot of uncertainty about how the law will impact the state. 2 Great Falls police officers said a suspected burglar told them he had a gun and repeatedly threatened to shoot them before an officer fatally shot him. A coroner's inquest began Monday at Great Falls to determine if the September 11th shooting of 25-year-old Thomas Jordan Addison was justified. After Addison was shot, officers discovered he had a knife. Nathan Spindler called police that night, saying Addison was jiggling his back door handle trying to get in. Officer Adam Sturjonas said he met Spindler away from his residence, and when they returned, they saw a door was open. Addison was nearby. When the officer went to arrest him, he fled. When officers caught up with Addison, he reportedly threatened them several times and did not back down after the first shot missed him. The inquest continued today. The community group Missoula Rises will be hosting a conversation about cops. Who do they police? Who do they protect? Coming up this Monday, January 29th. Spokesperson Rebecca Weston said a panel will ask questions about policing and have an interactive discussion with those who attend.
One of the speakers is going to be speaking about what it's like to be a woman who's a victim of domestic violence, and what is it like for her to live in a society that has offered police up as the first line to call. What is that experience like? How does the institution of policing interact on that question versus how do individual police interact?
Weston said questions regarding how Native Americans are treated by law enforcement will also be addressed.
What do we do about the fact that there are statistically higher numbers of Native Americans who are arrested and who are incarcerated? We're not going to put into question about the levels of criminality per se, but we're going to hear a little bit about the disproportion of who gets profiled, who gets picked up, who gets labeled criminal.
Asked why there were no representatives of law enforcement on the panel, Weston explained.
Some people very much wanted police officers there, and others very much didn't. And so it became a question, how do we even define safety? Do people feel comfortable sharing some of these experiences with a police officer in the room? And the dominant position of the people that we were working with felt like they would not feel comfortable sharing some of their own stories or their own opinions if a police officer was in the room.
The discussion is free to the public and will start at 6:30 p.m. Monday at Homeward Incorporated at 153 Liberty Lane. Montana businesses hoping to sell beer or liquor won't have to rely on the luck of the draw any longer, but they will have to outbid their opponents. Montana Department of Revenue spokeswoman Marianne Dunwell says the first Montana liquor license auction will go live January 18th.
You probably are aware we're in a state budget crisis, and the legislative session was called to identify potential revenues to help address the budget crisis. And somebody had I thought, a really good idea to move from lottery, which does not generate the state any money, it actually costs us money, to a competitive bid.
There are only 2 bidding options now, but more will come.
First round, if you will, of licenses are for one in Bozeman, a Bozeman retail beer license, and that comes with a minimum bid, starting bid at $187,500, and a Belgrade all beverages license with a minimum bid of $350,000.
There are no liquor licenses set for Missoula yet, but the opportunities are based on population, will likely change with the upcoming census. Montana's unemployment rate remained pretty much unchanged during the final month of the holiday season, according to state senior economist Barbara Wagner.
Montana's unemployment rate is at 4.1% in December. That's the most recent month we have available, and it's actually exactly even with the U.S. rate this month, which is, a long time coming. The U.S. took a long time to recover from the recession, whereas Montana unemployment rate has been low for quite some time.
There was a lot of growth in payroll jobs, though, at least compared to the rest of the country.
The good news here is that our payroll employment growth over the last month was the second fastest state in the whole nation. We added about 4,000 jobs in the last month. Maryland lost like 20,000 jobs over the last month. That seems like a lot. Wyoming is the fastest percentage of growth.
And the state of Montana will be sending notices to remind medical marijuana providers to pay taxes, after less than half of the providers that paid taxes last fall paid again at the quarterly deadline. The Billings Gazette reports the Montana Department of Revenue received $207,000 in taxes from medical marijuana as of last week, less than the $395,000 collected in October. The department says the recent tax payments came from 189 providers, but 434 providers paid last fall. Revenue Department officials say the reminder letters are being sent out this week. Newstalk time is 6:12.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station. An isolated wintry mix will be possible today. Otherwise, look for mostly cloudy skies with our high temperatures right around the 40-degree mark. Tonight, rain after midnight, changing over to snow as lows drop into the 20s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.